up, everybody? So it's Bryan Rector back with Confluence of Worlds, and we're going live again from the basement of Quattro Quattro. Now, if you've been with us throughout the duration of our episodes, you'll understand exactly why it's called Quattro Quattro. I won't tell you that yet, my man, but you'll hear about that soon, I promise. But anyway, today I am overly joyed and pleased to be sitting alongside a Michigan State golfer in Lorenzo Pinilli, who has a long and distinguished story just about, all matters of getting to state, of competing in year one, because he's just in his freshman year, and a seriously distinguished background as well in high school and as a junior golfer on circuits around the country. So I'm really excited to break it down. I was telling him off camera, actually, I play golf, but I don't really play golf, you know what I mean? And I'm sure a lot of you out there are feeling the same way about it. Because golf is a great game. And in fact, as I wrote down on our little prep sheet here, is golf can sometimes be referred to as the Lord's game, or a game from the Lord, just because of how much involved it is with the outdoors, right? And with carving courses and tracks into the natural scape. So I'm super excited to break it down with him today, and we'll introduce you, my man Lorenzo. Thank you for being here. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your first season.
Sure. So I'm Lorenzo Pinilli. I'm a freshman here. So first semester's been going pretty smoothly. For the season, we could have played better. We didn't play great as a team. And individually, I was just going through learning how to play golf at the college level and making that step from junior golf to college golf. And so we did all right. I think our best finish was second, and then we struggled on the rest of the tournaments. But at least we still have a spring season, so it's not over yet. And so I'm feeling really good. Everybody's working pretty hard, and the team chemistry is pretty high right now. So
Good. I love hearing that. Even though you're completely fine with accepting that maybe the beginning wasn't as fruitful as you would have liked, there are ways to remedy that. And I'm inspired to hear that you guys are continuing to work and put the pedal on the gas. So that's cool. That's really cool. But I was curious. It's we have a mutual friend, Arthur McCarthy, shout out, because I know this dude watches. I know he watches. Everyone. He'll hit me up and he'll be like, hey, good episode. And then he shared your contact with me. Mm-hmm. And said, hey, this would be someone to contact. So once again, thank you for being here. And I'll thank him, Art McCart, for putting us in touch. I think this is going to be a really good show. But you grew up in, Rochester Hills, mm-hmm. and went to Brother Rice High. And I was wondering, how did your high school time go? And how did your career in golf start? What's your backstory? Where does it come from? Tell me all about that.
Okay, so I guess, I'll start from the beginning. So, first time I ever swung a golf club was when I was 2. And there's actually evidence to prove that. There's a video on YouTube of
wow.
me. So, I ever since then, just been swinging a golf club every single year, every single day. And so I built it up, started playing tournaments at 6, and was really successful when I was 6, and pretty much through here, I don't really remember a time where I really struggled. So golf has kind of just been in my veins for my whole life. And so through my career, playing tournaments out of state all the time, in state all the time, just getting a ton of experience, making new friends. And then when high school hits around, recruiting comes. And so that was very different. I started getting recruited sophomore year, June 15th. So it was pretty late, but it was definitely a good experience having all the coaches watch you during your round and having that extra pressure. It's just more experience. So, but the high school season for Brother Rice was pretty good. Obviously, COVID hit my freshman year, so we didn't have a season, unfortunately. And so sophomore year and junior year, we won states as a team.
Wow.
Which was really good. And so we were really happy about that. And it wasn't by a small margin. We won pretty good, too. And then this past season, my senior year, one of my goals was to finish with Mr. Golf, the title in Michigan, and then also finish with an individual win at states.
Okay.
And so I accomplished both of those. But unfortunately, we lost the state championship for senior year. But other than that, golf's been a real blessing. Learned so many things from it, met so many people. And so we're just going to keep going with it, rolling with it. So.
Mm. Hmm. Man, I love hearing that. I love hearing that there are lessons to be learned, even though, as you said, you haven't really had a season that was the most trying. But what I was curious about, because I really want to tie it back to your faith, right, and your understanding of your relationship with Jesus. I know that you went to a Catholic school, right? And so I was wondering, where does your faith come from? And what is your background like, family situation? Let's break down that too, so we can kind of bridge the gap between the two.
Sure. So, I'm Filipino, and my family is very religious, especially my mom. She's very religious. And so, ever since I can remember, grew up going to Mass every single Sunday, celebrating Easter very religiously, celebrating Christmas very religiously. And my parents have been very good at giving me good education with a Catholic education. And so, at a very young age, they put me into like a daycare kind of thing in church, and so it kind of just started from there. I was in 8th grade, I was in a Catholic school, and then high school I was in Catholic school. So my parents have done a really good job in guiding me in Jesus' way, guiding me in the Catholic way. And it's just, that's another thing. Like the top two things in my life is Jesus and golf. So. Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, this is one that is kind of a hard-hitting question just to get things to open up in our conversation. But what do you think, in your case, and right, it's going to be different for everybody, but the question that I would love to know right off the bat is, what do you think that direct link is between your faith and the sport that you play, if there is one?
I say there definitely is one. Golf can be very... You can get very unlucky in golf and very lucky in golf. And I feel like Jesus has helped me become very fortunate in stuff and given me so many opportunities in golf. And so I just receive opportunity after opportunity after opportunity with my career there. And so I think that was all Jesus. I mean, he's the one that put me in this spot, put me at Michigan State, given me all the successes. And so pretty much I think they go hand in hand for me.
Absolutely. That speaks to me for sure. And I think coupling that with the fact that, you've been successful, right, in some semblance of the word, since 6 years old. I was wondering what was that like in terms of growing expectation and growing understanding that this could be what you do for all of your, adult life, right, if it comes to that? And where did you start to see this was going to be my thing?
Well, I always thought that I was pretty good at whatever I did. And so at 6 years old, I was winning a lot of tournaments. But I didn't really understand, where golf could get me in the future. I was just playing, and I was just having fun and winning. And so it kind of started, maybe around when I was like 12, I kind of started thinking, I'm actually pretty good at this. I've been watching the pros. I started noticing what the pros were doing, how they were living. And I started realizing that I have a chance to do this. And so ever since then, I've just had that vision in my mind to at least try to go pro. I mean, obviously, it's super hard. I mean, only like 200 or 125 guys are pros, and then only probably 20 of them are really world-renowned and are really successful. Yeah. So, but at this point, I just have that vision, and I'm honestly too far to not try. And so I'm going to try, and it's just been a vision for the longest time.
Absolutely. I know immediately after you saying that, I was thinking the blueprint with Michigan State is there, right? Having pushed James Pyatt into the live ranks, and I know he's trying to figure that out. I got to watch him when Liv came to Portland at, Pumpkin Ridge up there. That was cool. I was excited. Young, go green, and all that stuff. But let's talk about that growth and the understanding that after you knew, you can become somebody who's great at this. This can be your thing. And then you played a bunch of, circuit tournaments around the country. What was that like in terms of crafting a schedule that allowed you to do that? And what were some of the sacrifices that you made, that family made, to be able to do that?
Well, the sacrifices was, one of the big ones is, spending a lot of time with friends. And so for the longest time, I just remember all my friends in the summer just asking me, let's go do this, let's go do that, or just even just like family meeting, or like not family meetings, but family activities that everybody plans, but I would have to miss them sometimes just because I'm out traveling and just trying to get more experience from tournaments. And so that was one of the sacrifices, but I thought it was worth it. I put more time into golf, and it got me here, and it just made me realize more about how important time with family and friends are, because I don't get as much time as some people do.
Mm.
So, but traveling around the country, being in multiple states, playing different tournaments was really fun. I've been doing that for a long time as well. I think I started my first really big out-of-state tournament when I was 8, and so that was in North Carolina. They call it the U.S. Kids World Championship.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I remember being super, super nervous there, and it was just a totally different experience. I mean, you had kids from all around the country, from Mexico, from Asia, and so that was the first big tournament I had that was involved the whole world.
Okay.
And so ever since then, though, I've just been around the same thing, just keeping on learning and doing my best. So.
Okay, let's go off the beaten path here.
Okay.
Let's go somewhere else. Where is your favorite place that you play?
Ooh,
and,
that is a great question.
And if you can't do like top favorite, which I would understand,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
what are some of the ones that are cool that you've got to play?
Okay. I'll go with a couple. So, first I'll go with Oakland Hills South.
Okay.
There's some people that are like, oh, I don't really like it, but for me, I really like it. I like how the greens roll. I like the layout, and then just the whole entire layout, like how the course is kept in condition is really nice. And so Brother Rice is about 2 seconds away from there, and I'm in the area a lot, so I get to play that, and it never gets old. And so that's one of them. And then I remember playing Pinehurst number 2.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
So I played that in the Van Horn Cup, which is like an international versus the USA type thingy, and so that was fun. And that course, there's no rough, so if you miss the fairway, you're insane. So it was very hard. The setup really tested the game, but it was unreal.
Okay.
And so that was another one. And then I'll go with one more, and I'll go with a recent one, and I'll go with American Dunes.
Oh,
and
okay.
so the tournament we just played there,
yeah.
That course is just it's in Michigan, but you don't feel like you're in Michigan. It feels like you're in North Carolina with the type of grass, the layouts, but it's really beautiful. So.
For you, I'm curious, like considering how your game sets up and what you value with the course, what do you like to see? What do you look at when you're, scouting a course or preparing, and you learn something about it and you go, oh, this could be good. We could go low here today. What are some of those factors for you?
Well, the biggest thing, and a lot of golfers will agree with me, is wide fairways. And so a key thing, what I learned this past season, is you got to hit the fairway. And so if I know that a course has wide fairways, I know it's going to be pretty easy to score out there. But the only problem is it's not going to be easy only for me, but for everybody else.
Sure.
But when I see wide fairways, I'm like, okay, this is good. I get more confident too. And then another big thing, and I think it's the most important thing, that when I go play in a tournament, and if they have this part of the golf course good, then I feel like I'm going to play pretty good. It's when the greens are rolling really smooth and really fast.
Okay.
And I'm a really, really touch player, and so when I can feel the greens really, really good, and you just tap it and let the ball roll with the green, I feel like I putt the best there. And so I see the break and I feel the speed, and if it's fast and it rolls good, I feel like I putt good every time.
Okay, absolutely. Every person who I've had, and obviously everybody who's listened will know this, that every guest that I've had on Confluence of Worlds so far is in a sport that's exclusively team-based. And so golf, right, is a little bit different. And I was wondering kind of where is that line drawn between being a team-based sport versus being individual? And what are some of the ways that, since you've been at Michigan State, you've been able to build alongside your team in rapport and understanding of each other and just getting together and growing closer, even though you're playing an individual game?
Right. So yeah, that was one of the biggest changes I think. Being in a super competitive environment, playing golf in a team, and for my whole life, I've been in a super competitive environment, but playing by myself, playing for myself. And now when you're on a team, you've got your teammates, and you're playing for them too, and for the successes of everybody. And for basketball, people are used to that, but for golf, it's like a big change.
Hmm.
And so I feel like when I started a couple tournaments, I put a little bit too much pressure on myself because I already have high expectations for myself. And now when I say, oh, wow, the team's depending on me, or oh, I really want to help out the team, it just adds extra stress. So it's a totally different ball game, I think, in terms mentally. And but also what I learned from it is that every single shot counts. And so even if you're putting for double, you really have to try your hardest to make that putt, because if your teammate has a really bad hole and you have a little bit of a less bad hole, that one extra shot of you grinding not to make a triple and making a double will count for the team, no matter what. And so that's one big aspect that I feel I learned from that. And being in a team environment with golf, you got to encourage your teammates a lot. And there needs to be a lot of positivity out there. Because I remember some tournaments that, I'd see some of my teammates moping around, or I would be moping around. It's not really good for their mental health on the golf course to see you moping around, or to see someone else moping around. It's not great. So it just kind of taught me that you kind of just got to put on a happy face even if you have a really bad hole, and it'll just help your teammates out. And so yeah,
that makes a whole lot of sense, and I really appreciate hearing that, because it's super easy, as we said, to judge our outcome, right? And to look at how we play a hole and say, oh man, like how are we going to recover?
Right.
The question isn't, if you're going to recover, it's when, right? And it's just a matter of when that switch is flipped. And I'm really glad that you mentioned about putting on that face. I was wondering, you, with the faith background and perspective that you have, what are some of the things that you've learned within the church and about, the Bible and who Jesus is, that have helped you with that attitude of continuing to work and, showing the rest of you guys that it's going to be okay, and just keeping that level-headedness? Where does that all come from?
Well, it just comes from experience, but also learning about Jesus and how he preached and how he dealt with the people that were going against him, and how he just kept going and moving on and kept preaching. It's kind of the same with golf. It's like if you get a couple bad breaks, you can't just kind of give up. You got to keep going. You got to keep fighting. And just how Jesus kept fighting for us and fighting for what God was saying and all his preachings. He would fight against the people that wanted to go against him. I have to fight against myself and the bad thoughts and just the bad breaks I might get out there, the unluckiness. But I just got to keep fighting and just keep working hard. You really can't give up you can't really give up on the golf course there. You just can't afford it. And so I kind of learned that from him, his persistence.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's something that I really wanted to hear, so I'm glad we could do that. I'm referring to the paper here now, folks, because I have a quote here that I don't want to get wrong. I want to say it as properly as I can. So here we go. Coach Casey Lewon, for you, and for Michigan State Golf, has been quoted as saying, he is charitable, giving, and genuine in everything he does. Speaking about you.
Okay.
And I was wondering, what does that mean to you? And as we speak about being on a team, right, that means, or should mean, that you have a role and that you are playing a particular part within that team. So with that quote, what does that mean to you? And then what do you see as your role on the team, being one of the younger guys who is going to be influential, not only now, but for the next generation as well?
Right. Well, that quote, it honestly resonates to my values. As a person, I've noticed that I just really like giving and making sacrifices from myself for the others. And I kind of got that from my mom. She's really good at that, making sacrifices just for the good of me and my brother. And so I just love to help out other people the best I can, whether it's just, my friend calling me and saying, I need a ride, could you please stop what you're doing and give me a ride? I'll do it. And I just try to help out people as much as I can. And so that quote, I honestly don't even know. Did you get that off the website?
Yeah.
Okay. But no, that resonates with me there. And so now with my outlook on the team and where I think I influence the team, so obviously I'm one of the younger players on the team. And I think that my role right now, and more importantly, is to kind of push the older guys to improve. Because if they see a younger guy kind of pushing on them or, beating them out there, they're going to want to motivate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just better for the whole team that everybody doesn't want to get beaten by anybody else, especially from a younger guy. So the older guys don't want to get beaten by me. And so that's my role, kind of just to keep the teams in check and just so they know where they are.
Mm.
Yep. In terms of keep working hard. So
yeah, that makes sense. As you said, I really like the way you phrase that, to keep them in check and keep pushing the pace and the accountability high.
Mm-hmm.
Of those guys who are in the older echelon, who have been around, who are some that you feel like have embraced you the most and helped you out this year, if there are any of them, and kind of speak on that. I'm curious about, what that leadership looks like from those guys.
Yeah, to be honest, all of them have embraced me and Lucas, the other freshman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just very grateful for that because I can see where some seniors would kind of just push the younger freshmen away. But everybody's done a great job at including us in everything and acknowledging us and helping us out. A couple of standouts where I'll just say Satchel. He's a junior, and so he's done a really good job on talking to me and just being there as a good friend. We go work out together and he gives me some guidance that I need. And the other guys have done a good job too, but I think that's one thing that Michigan State Golf is pretty good at. Just kind of having the older guys guide the younger guys. So.
One thing that you just kind of nuanced in there was that you and some of the guys work out together. And I was wondering, this is an area that we haven't touched on yet that I would love to, is for golf, the workout regimens and the physicality is really unique, and it sticks out compared to most other sports in terms of what you want to be elite at, with the type of movements you make, the types of strength that you have. I was wondering when did it become a pillar to you to get in the gym and start working out? And what do you feel like that connection is between what you do in the gym and your game and how it translates?
Okay. I thought freshman year of high school, working out was really important, just getting stronger. Because at that point, as a freshman in high school, you're coming out of middle school and you're really looking for distance. Because in junior golf, the further you hit it, of course, you're going to have a bigger advantage. So kind of in high school, you're just trying to hit it as far as you can and kind of just get a wedge in your hand and get as close as you can to the hole. And so I started working out freshman year pretty good in the winter and been going on since. And my view on working out is that the stronger you are, the easier it is for you to swing at a faster pace. So I'm at the point where I believe I don't really need to hit it a lot further. I don't really need to gain 30 yards right now. I'll be okay playing at the yardages the pros are or colleges. At this point, working out is just for consistency. And my thought is, if I'm swinging 115 miles an hour right now, and if I get stronger in 3 months, how much easier is it going to be swinging 115 miles an hour in 3 months? And so I'm thinking, if I'm a lot stronger, of course it's going to be easier. It's just you're not going to be swinging as hard if you're stronger. And so that's the whole thing with working out. Of course, being as flexible as I can, but just kind of making everything more consistent and just easier to swing. So that's where I'm going.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
I'm glad you put it that way. I had never heard it said like that, so that was cool. That was good. Wow. I'm almost not sure where to go with that. So what we touched on earlier was that you looked at goals in your high school career, and as you were starting to round that out, right, and as you were coming to a close, and you accomplished those. So I was wondering, is like, what for you is important in terms of accomplishing goals and like keeping on the track and like keeping the consistency, and how did you feel after those kind of mountains had been climbed of winning, Boys Golfer of the Year and a couple of these other accolades that you've received?
I mean, the biggest thing I thought is just having confidence in myself.
Hmm.
And even though, winning Mr. Golf was kind of out there, you have to compete with the rest of the junior golfers in Michigan. You just kind of have to have a lot of belief in yourself and just a lot of confidence that you can do it. And I think that's huge, especially just with playing around in golf. There's been times where I just don't know where the ball's going, and the confidence level just goes down. So even if I'm not swinging an iron good, it affects my putting because I have no confidence.
Sure.
And so the biggest thing I kind of changed senior year of high school is just being as confident as I can, believing that I can make every single putt I can, and believing that I can accomplish the goal. So in my eyes, there's no goal that I can't accomplish. And that's how I kind of want to think that, there's nothing that I can't do. And so the confidence I get from that is kind of really essential, and I think that's the key of why I accomplished my goals senior year.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, now that we've kind of hit a little bit on your goals that you attained during high school, what are some of the ones that you have in college and then even forward after that?
Okay. As of the rest of this season, so before I become a sophomore, I want to win Big Ten Freshman of the Year, that award. So I've got a lot of work to do for that, but I have my eyes on that. And I also want to win one tournament individually out of the ones I'm going to play in the spring. So those are the really good goals that I have that I'm really working towards in the short run. And in the long run, I'm just trying to be the number one player at Michigan State for sure, and number one player in Big Ten for the rest of that. And after that, turn pro and try to make that a run, make that a living. And so those are my goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That makes sense. I was curious, and this is just, for personal understanding, but you being that you've won some things and you've been able to have the level of success you have, that affords a platform, right? And an ability to speak to people in a different light and for a bunch of different purposes and reasons. I was wondering, what are some of the ways you've seen your platform grow, and have you been able to do charity work or outreach, or have you gotten involved in the NIL space? What does all of that look like?
As of NIL, individually I have nothing so far, and that's one of my goals, kind of get more deals in the future.
Okay.
Just by playing better. But coming for being a golfer of my level, I'd say, you're right. I feel like more people listen to me and more people come reach out to me for just other, not only just for golf, but for other things too.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been able to run a little bit of a charity for kids that need school supplies. I did that before COVID. So I did that 8th grade and freshman year. And so that was really cool. And kind of putting all the people that watch me in my golf and kind of putting out the message that some people need help. I've done a good job at that freshman year, but I need to get back on it. Mm-hmm. So looking forward in the future, we're going to get back on it.
Absolutely.
So that's a little bit of the charity work I've been doing. But a lot of people just reach out to me for help. Just recently, there's this guy that was a friend of a friend, and he just started, sending me videos and hey, can you help me fix my swing? Mm-hmm. And then knowing that I'm that guy that they want help to is just really nice. And so it just kind of gives me the idea that, if people want my help, so I just want to give it to them.
For sure.
So
that makes a lot of sense. And once again, I am looking forward to the day where your platform becomes what you want it to be. And I think that's super cool that even from that early age, you had the, heart, will, and desire to give back. I love that. And I'm excited to see where you take that in the future. That's going to be fun to watch. I love it, yeah. I would love help with my swing, frankly. But thank you for being here, seriously.
Yeah, no, thanks for
and
having
just
me.
helping me out
Mhm.
in this way. Let me ask you something else, though. Is like, we've touched on goals a little bit, you know, and we've touched on the kind of season and how it's going and where you're looking to go. Let me ask you something though, and this is like as straight as I can phrase this.
Sir.
Why do you play the game?
Why do I play the game?
What's your purpose? Yeah. Why do you do it?
I mean, I love it.
Mm.
That's the one answer I have. I don't really remember a time where I didn't really want to pick up a golf club. And there are some people like Jordan Spieth. I remember took like a couple week break. And when I take my breaks, 2 days max before and urging just to hit a golf ball. And so I just have that passion for it, I think. Even in the future, let's just say golf doesn't work out, I don't see myself getting away from it. I'll always play it.
Sure.
So just that love that I have for it, and also just the success I've had so far is kind of just shown that I can keep going with this and keep going further. And so that's why I play that game too.
Mm.
And so, and also just the friends that I made here too, knowing that I can make friends every time I play golf. I mean, with the new pairings and stuff, you can make a friend in Maryland or whatever other college. And so that part is kind of nice too.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Who in the game do you model your game after, if anybody?
ooh.
Yeah. Who did you watch growing up? Who are some of your guys on the pro circuit, whether PGA or Live?
There are a couple players that I kind of modeled myself, or I looked up to, and a couple of them, Justin Thomas, I felt like he was one of the guys I wanted to be. Colin Morikawa, and then Dustin Johnson as well.
Okay.
And so Dustin Johnson, he has a lot of distance, and I admire that, and that's why I was looking at him for. And then Justin Thomas, I thought his swing was really pure, and just the way he was playing, I felt like at a really young age, he had a lot of success too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he played in a tour event as a high schooler or something.
Yeah.
And so I just saw him and be like, yeah, I want to be as successful as him too.
Mm.
And then Colin Morikawa, just how consistent he is with his drives and just the consistency, but just the way he plays. I just want to be like that too. So, yeah, those three guys.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Man, that's super cool. What do you think? And this is like going off the beaten path, but I just want to know. I have to. We've mentioned, right, that there is the dissension between the PGA and the Live. You've guys playing everywhere. You have all these different circuits. I was wondering, what do you think about that concept, where there's kind of been a fracture and a change to the professional game? Because, like, the other thing I want to ask, which don't even worry about answering this right now, but I want to connect the pro game, to what's happening with college. Whereas you and I were talking off camera, there are some additional schools entering the Big Ten, and that'll shape competition for years to come. So what do you think first about the pro game and where it's headed with the separation of Live from the PGA and how all these guys are doing their money and they're, backing whoever they're backing? What do you think about that?
Well, I just think that more and more golfers are going to get into the game. It's just going to cause more competitiveness, and we can see that now. Like, the competitiveness in college golf is just going to translate into the future with pros, and golf is so competitive now. And I feel like just with more opportunities with Live, with PGA, there's just going to be more opportunities for people to compete at that level. And so I like where the future of golf is going. It's just going to get more competitive, harder, and it's just going to be more fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But the one part I'm not really sure about is the amount of money that's just getting thrown around. And just, I love the opportunity for Live for pros that aren't as successful as, say, like Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson, to go and make a living and be okay with money and play golf. But I feel like trying to pay a player to just play golf, I don't really know about that. But that's just one aspect I didn't like about Live, but the rest of it, I love it because it just opens opportunities for more golfers to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like that a lot. What, and I know I'm just hitting you continuously, but I gotta know. I gotta know. Now that we've done the program, right, and we understand where you sit with that, which I appreciate your response. I feel like that's well reasoned out and makes sense and is really high on the growth of the game, which I love to hear. There's another situation where collegiate golf is going to change because of the conference realignment, and now being that golf is a non-revenue earning sport, quote unquote, under NCAA regulation and rule. What do you think about the addition of the 4 Pac-12 schools, UCLA, USC, Washington, and Oregon, now that there's a little bit of what could be a collegiate West Coast swing for you guys in the future?
I just think that it just opens up more opportunities for us. Being able to play in the West Coast, you can make more connections down there. I guess the coaches can. You can play more tournaments down there. And PGA Tour travels all around the U.S. And I think that instead of just staying in this area, like the north, kind of east, we get to travel in the west and experience the courses over there. Because the courses are different, for sure. And so I just think that it's just growing the game more, with especially with the 4 schools that are going to join. They're pretty competitive with golf, I'd say.
Sure.
And so competition is just going to get harder, but that just means you're just going to get better. And so I think that growing the Big Ten in that way in golf is really good. It's just going to make everybody better, and I don't have a problem with that. So
no, absolutely not. I like that. It kind of serves as like a funnel, right? It's like, man, if you want to compete, all you're left to do is be forced to get better and improve and make strides in that way. That's cool. I like that. Well, let me ask you something. Just, I know we're kind of, running up against time here, folks. So if you're still here, thank you for continuing to be here. But what are some of the most important lessons that you've learned through the game and, with your faith tied into that? And, what do you want to get better at in terms of the interpersonal side of playing the game?
A big thing I learned is patience, of course. You can really ruin a round by being impatient and, forcing a golf shot instead of waiting on the next hole for another opportunity for birdie. And so I think patience is key. And I learned that in the game of golf, but now I transfer it into my life, and I'm just more patient as a human being, and I think that helps my relationships socially, because if someone's not patient, I can be patient at least, and we can, work things out easier. I think. Other things I've learned is that, persistence. I talked about this earlier, and not giving up. So, being resilient in every situation, and always fighting for every single shot. And so translating that into my life too, just not giving up in anything, even if there was a missed opportunity that did involve golf, you just got to move on and just keep going. And another thing I learned from golf is how beautiful nature really is. And I kind of learned that recently when I went on a Kairos trip at Brother Rice. And so Arthur knows what I'm talking about. But for 3 days, I got to really connect with God and nature. And I had no phone, so you had no time. You had no idea what the time was. You had no idea who was texting you. And so it was just a really cool experience with you, nature, and God, trying to connect all the just everything. And so I learned that, life isn't that bad, even if I was playing bad at golf. Just looking outside, how everything was made, how God made everything, it's really not that bad if I lose golf. And so I just kind of learned that if worst comes to worst, I still have God with me, and really that's not that bad. And so that's just giving me more confidence, kind of like I have nothing to lose.
Okay.
And when I play like I have nothing to lose, I play very confidently, and I just play better. Okay. And so just being mindful of where God is on the golf course, it also takes my mind off of stressful situations. So, if I hit a bad shot, all I got to do is just look up in the sky or look up in the air, look at the birds, and I see God. And it takes my mind off of things, calms me down. And so I just learned that recently on the Kairos trip, on how God is with me always, and how I can just play like He's there and I have nothing to lose.
Mm. What are some of the ways, because I know when you're in season, it's a tremendous grind, whether you're, doing school, whether you're training, whether you're at the course, whether you're traveling. What are some of the ways that you enjoy that allow you to get away from the grind and from the game?
Yeah. A big thing that I really like doing is just hanging out with friends. Because, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't really get too much of that growing up in middle school and high school. And so just spending time with friends, just going bowling or doing something like that, and being in a social environment with the people you really like, that takes my mind off of golf. And I really enjoy doing that. And then, doing other stuff like bowling, like I used to play too. And so playing another sport takes my mind off of golf as well. And it gives me a little break. And I really enjoy doing that stuff too.
For sure.
So.
And, I think one thing that was perspective shaping that you've been talking about is the idea that golf is not always going to be there, right? Probably. In terms of what you're doing, what you're centered around. So let me ask you this, is when golf and your career, so to say, in the game is done, where are you looking to head? What do you want to do? Have you given thought to what the next step might be, even though the vision is clear as to where you're trying to go?
Right. Well, hopefully when I can't play golf anymore competitively, I'll be old enough where I need to be walking with a cane.
Ha, yes.
So hopefully that's the plan. But
yes, sir.
You always got to have a backup, right? And so I'm studying finance.
Okay.
And so hopefully after a long career in the PGA Tour, I can either be financially set or I'll just go and do something in business and continue to play golf, because in business golf is a pretty big thing with connections and stuff. So
yeah, that's cool too.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman's game, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I like that. Listen, I want to wrap up here, so I'll hit you with one more thing.
Okay.
If you were to do an NIL with any brand on this earth, who would you do and why?
That's a tough question.
And no, this does not violate any NCAA bylaws. I just was curious. That's it.
Gosh, an NIL deal.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's really tough. You know what? I think that if I got something with Nike, and I really like their stuff and their clothing, but that's all I can think about. But if I could get an NIL deal with a sort of charity like we're doing now, where I can donate to other charities, that'd be helpful too. But,
okay.
So between those two.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that you threw that second piece in there. That's good.
Because that's what we have as a team right now.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're able to. They give us a certain amount of money, and then we donate a certain amount to charities.
Okay.
And so
for sure.
They know that they're helping us out as a student athlete, but they're also helping out the other charities that are close. So
that's tremendous. I love that. Wow, I really do. Before we head out, this is it. This is the final end all be all. If you had to shout out anybody for getting you to this point, for helping you along the journey, for being instrumental to you, who would you say?
I'd probably say my parents for sure.
Okay.
Shout out to them. They've always helped me throughout my whole entire career. They were always there to help me in every single way, and they made sure I had every single opportunity, and they really worked hard for that, and I really appreciate that. They've always been there for me, and so of course without them, I would not be here right now. So
absolutely. Well, hey. That's it for us on Confluence of Worlds. We've had another great episode today. Super thankful to you, Lorenzo, for being here, and really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And as we said, that's it for Confluence of Worlds with Bryan Rector, and today, joined by Lorenzo Pinilli from Michigan State Men's Golf. I know you can stay tuned onto his journey with, Michigan State Men's Golf account on Instagram. They got a web page that's sweet. Found a lot of information from that source, as well as, is there a way that people can connect with you more personally?
Yeah, social media. You can come follow me on Instagram and DM me if you have any questions, or if you need something about your swing, I can help you out. It's Lorenzo_Pinelli. That's my Instagram. So give me a follow.
There it is. You heard it here first, folks. And have a great day, everybody. And we're hoping to come back with another episode of Confluence of Worlds. But until then, have a great night. All right.
Man, that was fun.
I'm glad.
Yep.
I'm glad. I hope that was good for you.
It was. It kind of not only it kind of just made me refresh why I played this game and what my beliefs were. So no, I thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yep.
Absolutely. And dude, I hope we can stay in touch too.
Oh, for sure.
I really appreciate you coming by. I really appreciate what you had to say, man. I do believe, quite a few people have asked, why do you do this show? Mm-hmm. Well, it's because I'm learning too, right? It is like, man, I'm gaining insight into why people do what they do. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And so, thank you. Really thank you.